Hey everybody, meteorologist Aaron Treadway here, and I wanted to talk today about one of the most violent weather phenomena that you can experience, and anyone can experience, and that's a tornado. It's a violently swirling mass of wind, and it's just dangerous. So, how tornadoes form? Well, first off, if you want to check out this YouTube video actually done by James Spann, a meteorologist out of Alabama, it outlines it excellently, just how we think tornadoes form. But basically, the rotation in a thunderstorm wraps up and tightens. There's some stretching and some other technical stuff, but eventually we get a rotating column of air, which is called a tornado. And this is our best guess of how it forms. We still have a lot to learn about tornadoes, and I would say that they are one of the few things in meteorology that we're still trying to figure out. But we do know enough at this point to warn the public and to keep y'all safe. So there is one important distinction before we go forward between a funnel cloud and a tornado. A funnel clouds can rotate, and they kind of look like tornadoes, but they're not in contact with the ground. Here are two examples, and you can clearly see the air basically between the base of the funnel and the ground in both cases. So both of those are funnel clouds. A lot of the time, funnel clouds do become tornadoes, but a lot of the times they don't. They just stay rotating and they never make contact with the ground. Once that funnel reaches the ground and is in contact with the ground, that officially becomes a tornado. So there are different ratings of a tornado, from an EF0 to an EF5. An EF0 is the weakest type, and EF5 is the strongest type. So one of the things that I wanted to do is I went back really quickly and looked at the tornadoes around Farmington, New Mexico. And there have only been a few back since 1962. In fact, the count is 8 EF0s and 1 EF1. The good news is that those are the two weakest types of tornadoes. The EF0s and EF1s are fairly weak. The EF5s are the strong ones, and there haven't been any EF2s, 3s, 4s, or 5s in and around Farmington basically over the last 50 years. So those weak tornadoes, the EF0s and EF1s, typically only last a couple of minutes. They don't stay on the ground very long, and the winds are only about 110 miles an hour. I say only about 110. Well, that's enough to knock shingles off of your roof or knock down a fence or kind of, move some outdoor lawn furniture around. But, in the grand scheme of things, if you're in a house and in a safe place, you'll be okay. These, unfortunately, are difficult to detect by radar. They're difficult to get confirmation of, and many of them go unreported just because they happen so quickly. So here's a quick example of a weak tornado. There it was, and there it's gone. Notice the car didn't move. All the houses are still there, but what it is all the trash is now everywhere. All of the trash cans have been pushed across the street, but the Jeep was fine, and the houses are fine. So not too much to worry about. The middle of the road, strong tornadoes, those EF2s and EF3s, they can last a little bit longer, 15 to 20 minutes. They can be fairly wide, and they can stay on the ground for a long period of time. And the winds now are up to 165 miles an hour. I mean, that's basically as fast as a NASCAR car drives. These, though, we can identify very good with radar, and we get good reports and good confirmation, which means we can get the warnings out to you, to your schools, to the news media, and help protect people from these. So here's a video of an EF2 or EF3 tornado from the southern United States. Notice it's a bit bigger. You can actually see some debris flying around it. You can actually see the rain being pulled into it. So it looks a lot scarier now as we get to these bigger and badder tornadoes. The EF4s and the EF5s are the violent tornadoes. These are the strongest tornadoes out there. These can stay on the ground for multiple hours and stay for 20 to 50 miles on the ground. Winds in excess of 200 miles an hour, and these by far are the most deadly tornadoes. The good news is they don't occur a lot. For example, in all of the state of Texas, the second biggest state in the country behind Alaska, the last EF5 tornado was in 1997, over 20 years ago. So that's been a long time. So these things are super rare. So this is a video of an EF4 tornado that occurred in Tuscaloosa, Alabama several years ago. So this one's even bigger This one's even stronger, and you can see it kind of moving across the neighborhood here. You can see other little funnels on the outside of it. It just is not something you want to mess with. So these are the ones that you want to be below ground in a basement or in an interior bathroom to be safe from. But again, we haven't seen any of these in or around Farmington in the last 50 years. So this is a look at kind of where tornadoes do occur. Notice, if you look at this map with all of the dots, that most of them occur west of the Rocky Mountains. Excuse me, east of the Rocky Mountains. This is east of the Rocky Mountains here. West of the Rocky Mountains, you don't get that many tornadoes. Notice there were none in 2008, for example, around Farmington. In fact, when you look at the average annual number per year reported in each state, New Mexico only gets about 10 per year, and they occur closer to Texas, closer to Oklahoma, than where y'all are there around the Four Corners. And then looking at the time of the year that they occur, most of the time they occur in the spring. So notice the March, April, May, and June period, there's a lot more here with a lot higher counts. And then as you get into the summertime and especially the wintertime, the numbers do trail off. They can still occur. They can occur year-round and anywhere. But they're more common east of the Rocky Mountains, and they're more common in the spring.